Welcome back to the channel. Now, with round 2 of the Six Nations kicking off this weekend, I thought it would be interesting to have a look and see how each team's chances of winning the tournament have changed, as well as who's now likely to win the Grand Slam and what percentage chance are they given. Now, these percentages are calculated off of the odds, so that just gives you a little idea of how I've come up with these percentages. So we'll start at the bottom with Wales. So before the tournament, they were given a percentage chance of winning of just 3%, which going back historically is an incredibly low percentage to give Wales of winning the tournament, but is reflective of the transition period that they're going through at the moment under Warren Gatland. But now they are down to 1%, with obviously a 0% chance of winning the Grand Slam. Now, Wales, despite losing to Scotland, actually did take a couple points out of the game. They denied Scotland that try right at the death. That would have taken away their losing bonus points. So despite being beaten and a real poor first half performance, they did actually take something out of the game, which, you know, when you're going to lose a game, if you can take a couple points out of it, that is definitely something you want to do. Obviously, they were at home, so it was a game that they wanted to win, but 2 points nonetheless is at least something to take away from the game. Now, moving up to France. France, before the tournament, were given a 43% chance of winning. That has completely plummeted down to 4.3%. Against Ireland, they just really didn't turn up. Obviously, they were hampered by the red card and the yellow card as well in that game, both by the same player, which sort of potentially demoralised the team. Ireland were fantastic throughout, but you could definitely see the attitude of the French players, especially late on into the second half, where Ireland really upped the tempo and turned the temperature up in the oven. They really did start to melt. So poor start to the Six Nations from France, and they didn't take anything out of that game against Ireland. You'd expect at home them to maybe win, but at least take something out of the game. But they only got their tries, sort of only a couple tries, and didn't really get close enough to Ireland at any point to look like they were going to get a losing bonus point, especially with the late try from Ireland in that second half. So disappointing from France, and obviously they have a 0% chance of winning the Grand Slam, which is not what they would have wanted to happen going into the second round of the Six Nations. And many people, probably I'd say I was in the same boat, thinking if France could beat Ireland, they'd go on to win the Grand Slam. And I did favour France to beat Ireland, so my prediction for the tournament would have been a France Grand Slam, and that's sat at a fat 0% at the moment. So a tough couple of weeks for France, but they'll be looking to right the wrongs this weekend. Now, moving on to Scotland. Now, their percentage chances are increased to 8.2%. Not a very big increase. They were obviously expected to beat Wales probably by a couple points, and they put on a clinical first half display and started off the second half really well, but did open the gate and let Wales back into the game, which some errors from Scotland in that second half. Despite Wales being really clinical, they did let Wales back into the game with just silly discipline, yellow cards, and really piled the pressure onto themselves. And it was only a missed conversion from Johan Lloyd. Obviously, it was a very difficult conversion, so it wasn't a complete gimme or a kick that he was expected to get. But if that went over, it could have been a completely different game and a result in the end. So Scotland do increase their percentage chance up to 8.2, so an increase of 0.7%. And in terms of Grand Slam chances, they're at 4.3%. So they're still expected to get beaten in the tournament and not expected to win it. But a good start from Scotland, and they've developed really well over the last few years. They've become a very consistent outfit. You know who's going to be selected. You know who the combinations are going to be going into the weekend, which is all you can really ask for from a coach's point of view, to have that consistency, to build the chemistry and build the partnerships throughout the team. So Scotland are no mugs at the moment, and on their day they can really beat any team, which they've showed against the likes of New Zealand going back, I think it was 2022 in the test matches over there. And New Zealand got off to a fast start, but Scotland came back into that game and showed that they were a massive threat, especially at home. You can probably question their away form slightly against the big nations in the world, but at home they're a different kettle of fish. So fair play to Scotland, they're doing very well. And then surprisingly, second most likely to win the Six Nations now is England. I'm not sure what people were watching in the Italy game. I'm not going to say we were lucky to win the game, because we were the better team, but not by a huge amount, especially looking at the historical performance margin between the England teams of old and Italy. We used to be pumping them with many points. Now, you can't always maintain that gap, because it's far easier to progress from a sort of 2 out of 10 to a 5 or 6 than it is from a 7 to a 9 or a 10. So Italy have really improved, but despite that, England looked clunky. Defensively, we were trying to rush off of the line and put the opposition under some real tough pressure, But what we ended up doing is being disjointed, allowing sort of the offloads to go behind the blitz defence, and we were left wanting a couple times, especially from that Italian centre partnership midfield duo. So England have decreased their chance of winning the Six Nations from that performance down to 11.3%, with a 7% chance of winning the Grand Slam. Now, I don't think we're going to win the Grand Slam. To be honest, in my point of view, if we can get a win over either Ireland or France, that is a huge statement. I don't think we will, but I think if we manage to do that, that'll be a huge success coming out of the Six Nations. If we can beat Wales this weekend, that'll be a solid performance. But if you look at the Six Nations as a whole, if we just beat Italy and Wales you'd expect us to beat Scotland, probably. I mean, I don't think... I'd say we're underdogs in that game, but if we can get at least a few big scalps out of either Ireland and France, and then a Scotland and a Wales, that would be a very successful Six Nations Championship. In terms of reality, I think we will beat Wales this weekend. I'd edge towards Scotland in that matchup at Murrayfield, and I don't see us beating any of the two big Northern Hemisphere sides in France and Ireland. So that's my point of view. Let me know if you agree or disagree, but England are sat at 7% to win the Grand Slam. Now, to all of the Irish fans waiting for me to read out their numbers, you have shot up to 75.2% chance of winning the Six Nations, and a handsome 54.2% chance of winning the Grand Slam. Ireland, obviously, coming off of the Grand Slam last year, if they can go back-to-back with Grand Slams, that's a huge, huge statement, and will show that they've really been the dominant Northern Hemisphere force over the last couple of years. You'd expect Ireland to go on to win the Triple Crown and the Grand Slam. If you look at their form, if they can be anywhere between sort of 80% plus of the performance they put in against France, should easily be enough to beat the rest of the teams in the tournament, especially when you look at a transitional France and England team, as well as them being, I think they've got Scotland at home as well, so that's a favourable draw in that case. I'm not saying it's a favourable draw in general for Ireland, because they did have to go away to France, which is a real sort of banana skin game. So it's looking very positive for the rest of the tournament from Ireland. I mentioned to a couple of the Irish people in the comment section about Grand Slam is on, just trying to put the pressure on them a little bit. They seem very sort of resentful of the idea that they're going to win the Grand Slam. They probably think it could happen, but they just don't want the pressure on them yet. And I completely understand that. One game at a time, win your next game, and keep that trend going, and you'll set the world on fire. So looking very promising for Ireland. But that is the order now of the teams in which are most likely to lift the Six Nations, with Ireland in first, England in second, a Scotland team which can really upset many opposition in third, with France shockingly in fourth after a performance in which they won't be proud of. I didn't really expect to be saying Ireland are fourth most likely to win the Six Nations after round one, taking nothing out of that Ireland game, which is very disappointing, and then with Wales in fifth, and obviously Italy in sixth. Despite showing a spirited performance, they're still quite a long way off of competing for any silverware this year. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree, do you disagree with the percentage chances? I remember, this isn't what I think, this is what the odds are saying. So be very interested to hear what you have to say in the comments. But until the next video, see you later, guys.